Good evening. After a two-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Bolter. That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous...
Tim Walz. I don't know who thought he was a good idea. He was like a second iteration of Tim Kaine, but even worse. He turned out to be a...
Picture this. Tim Walz thinks he's playing a careful game of political chess. Then Lindi Li flips the board, pockets the queen, and starts running her own match like she's done it 100 times. This isn't politics anymore. It's a roast wrapped inside a public unraveling. If Walz believed his secrets were locked away, Lindi showed up with the master key, a spotlight, and popcorn. Strap in, because once this starts rolling, it doesn't slow down.
Women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions and the physicians who know best when they need to do this. I use this line on this, just mind your own business on this. Things worked best when Roe versus Wade was in place. When we do a restoration of Roe, that works best. That doesn't preclude us.
He was trafficking in lies and conspiracies. He said that he never supported a national abortion ban. We have in writing a screenshot from his website wherein he supported a national abortion ban. So he was just...
If you're enjoying this already, hit subscribe. It helps more than you think. Walz was cruising toward 2025, convinced his calm, Midwestern nice guy image was untouchable. He was political comfort food. Familiar, predictable, safe. Then Lindi Li arrived, and she didn't politely knock. She smashed straight through that image with sarcasm sharp enough to leave marks. Suddenly, Walz's warm reputation didn't feel reassuring. It felt like leftovers forgotten in the fridge, soft, questionable, and getting worse by the minute.
Who could possibly think it would be a good idea to lie about being in Tiananmen Square when you were in Nebraska? I mean, come on, it's just so beyond the pale. And now he's thinking about running for president. Didn't he get the memo that the American people do not want a second coming of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? And Kamala is in California considering a run for governor. We do not want any more DEI woke, any of that. We just don't. We're done with the woke and trans.
Walz's brand has always been performance art. The steady leader smiling calmly while the house smolders behind him. He pats you on the shoulder and says, "Don't worry, I've got this," right as the Wi-Fi crashes, the fridge dies, and a raccoon sets the garage on fire. On the surface, it's soothing. Underneath, it's chaos. That's the illusion Lindi Li just shattered, and now everyone's watching the mess unfold.
Your mom, and how soon was it after the election? Like
a week or two. It wasn't at that point. I was just asking questions. Like it wasn't even. I was like, what happened to the $2.5 billion we raised? Why did we spend it on Beyonce? Why did we spend 2.5? Why did we spend millions of dollars on Oprah? Like legitimate questions that needed to be answered. But the amount of hate I got for that was just overwhelming. And the final straw, the moment that I knew that I needed to leave, was actually around.
To really get why this roast landed, you have to look at the costume Walz built for himself. He assembled his image like flat pack furniture, simple, practical, and sturdy enough for a campaign photo. Teacher turned politician. Friendly neighbor. Dad jokes. National Guard credentials. On paper, it's flawless. Up close, though, the screws don't line up and the whole thing wobbles. Cheap materials, rushed assembly. Lindi Li noticed, and once she pointed it out, no one could unsee it.
And then the biggest tell of the evening was when he told the moderators, well, I thought the rules stipulated, or something to the effect of the rules were saying that you weren't going to fact check. And you talked about own goals. That was an own goal. That said everything.
But
so
Lindi,
he was counting on the fact that no one is going to push back.
Are you frustrated then that Walz didn't make the argument that you're making to me right now?
I think he did a really good job tonight. And we had a lot.
Lindi looked at Walz's record and basically asked, "Nice mask, but what's underneath?" Then the receipts came out. Walz sold himself as the steady hand on the wheel while the car kept swerving. COVID rules zigzagged. Open. Close. Lock it down again. Then act shocked when people were confused. He called it pragmatism, but it looked more like flipping a coin and calling it leadership. On crime, he tried to dance between reform and law and order until he tripped over his own talking points. Lindi didn't just list the contradictions, she drenched them in sarcasm, making the hypocrisy impossible to ignore. Grassroots branding, DC cocktail party energy. If those roots exist, You'd need a telescope to find them.
Rating of the night when he pointed out that Trump completely failed on the border. He didn't deliver on the border wall that he promised. He blew up the border deal that we have border as a campaign issue. So he scored really highly also when he mentioned Matthew 25 and how his faith guides and inspires his empathy for people, a quality that Trump and Vance so abundantly lack.
Lindi didn't just poke holes in Walz's story, she shredded it. She reminded everyone that polishing an image doesn't erase messy decisions. What stings most is how his everyman teacher vibe now feels more like a costume than reality. It's like discovering your favorite indie band was engineered in a boardroom. Walz suddenly looks like the store brand candidate. And now that he's been floated nationally as a VP pick, the spotlight is blinding. What slid by locally is now headline material. Lindi isn't whispering, she's holding up a neon sign. Coasting on cardigan charm? That era is over. Ignore her, and it's like ignoring a fire alarm while everyone else runs for the exits.
Increase us from making sure that once that child's born, like in Minnesota, they get meals, they get early childhood education, they get health care. So the hiding behind we're going to do all these other things when you're not proposing them in your budget. Kamala Harris is proposing them. She's proposing all those.
Responding is just as dangerous. Step into Lindi's arena and you're walking into a sarcasm storm while already bleeding. But here's the bigger twist. This isn't just about Walz anymore. It's about an entire political system obsessed with image control. Walz just happened to get caught mid-costume change. One viral roast cracked the dam, and now journalists, rivals, and online sleuths are tearing through his record like it's a mystery novel. He's trying to play calm co-pilot for Harris's campaign while the internet jokes that his steady hand looks more like it's shaking a martini during an earthquake. Lindi lit the match. Now everyone's watching the fire spread.
I want to take you back to the very first answer that he gave. Let's just remind ourselves, he sort of stumbled through. Right now the crisis in the Middle East is, front and center of the global news agenda. And we would expect maybe that someone who was running to be the vice president would have more confidence. Let's remind ourselves of what happened. October
7th, Hamas terrorists massacred over 1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in.
Walz's team now faces a bad choice. Double down on the cozy Midwestern charm or pretend nothing's happening. Spoiler, neither works. When Lindi Li roasts you, it's not a debate, it's a barbecue, and the smoke lingers. The default defense is out of context, but once people see the pattern, spin stops working. Media reactions split fast. Some outlets still treat Walz like the lovable uncle at a potluck. Others smell blood, and nothing drives clicks like political blood. Suddenly, old footnotes on national headlines, scored like a true crime documentary.
What do you think happened when he gave that answer, Lindi?
Well, as I mentioned before, J.D. Vance went to Yale Law School. He is seasoned, and I said this in the previous interview. This is what he does. He's slick and he's sharp, but Walz is a fundamentally good guy. And our focus group of battleground voters, mind you, understand that. They perceive that this is a down-to-earth guy, salt-to-the-earth guy who wants the best for the American people versus Vance, who is backed by Peter Thiel and was a venture capitalist and is working for his...
Walz isn't used to this spotlight. State-level politics forgives a little chaos if you smile and wave. The national stage doesn't. Every word, photo, and pause gets dissected. Fishing jokes won't save you now. Thanks to Lindi, the lens is crystal clear, and the irony is brutal. The man of the people now looks like the man of the script. Over-rehearsed. Over-managed. Years ago, a Unity op-ed might have patched this. In today's election cycle, every move is examined like a frog in biology class. Voters want consistency now, not promises later.
I'm not on anyone's payroll. I'm not beholden to anyone. That's why I'm here telling the truth. I'm not here to gaslight anybody. This is just the truth.
What is the truth?
The truth is this is just an epic disaster. This is a $1 billion disaster. Actually, it was $1.018 billion, I think, right? There were $20 million or $18 million in debt.
Right.
And Lindi Li exposed just how fragile that consistency is, About as sturdy as a paper straw in a hurricane. Social media turned her takedown into an overnight meme factory. When your image screams Midwestern nice but your record whispers chaos, the internet doesn't just notice, it broadcasts. Once you become the punchline, reclaiming control is brutal. And this matters, because politics runs on trust. Lindi didn't just criticize, she entertained. And entertainment sticks.
Into that, I have friends that I have to be accountable to and to explain what happened because I told them it was a margin of error race. I was promised, Jen O'Malley Dillon promised all of us that Harris would win. She even put videos out saying that Harris would win. I believed her. My donors believed her. And so they wrote massive checks. I feel like a lot of us were misled. And even on the night of election night, Will, I looked somebody in the eye and I said, are we going to do this? Are we going to pull it off? She told me yes. And I asked somebody else, like, how are you feeling? He's like, we're going to win Iowa. And I was like,
that's what makes Lindi's approach so dangerous. Nobody shares boring critiques anymore. They share roasts, clips, and sarcasm that makes them laugh while nodding along. Accountability disguised as entertainment spreads fast. Meanwhile, Walz's opponents are quietly celebrating. The worst hits don't come from rivals, they come from outsiders, because that feels real. Now the Harris campaign is sweating. A VP pick should calm voters, not rattle them. Walz was supposed to be invisible in the best way. Instead, he looks shaky, and in a tight race, that's political poison.
What's your take?
My take is the most neglected part of home ownership is the gutters. It's personal for me.
This is Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz making an appearance on the popular TikTok show Subway Takes.
Had problems with gutters before. You get your basement wet, you get ice dams, cause a lot of problems.
How often do you like looking at gutters?
I look quite often, surprisingly, because
Like
I kind
you're
of judge it.
inspecting.
I try not to be judgmental on people, but when I see a well-tended gutter...
Before Lindi's takedown, Walz barely registered nationally, a background character you'd Google once and forget. Now his front page news, not for achievements, but for contradictions. The more he shrugs it off, the worse it looks. Smile through it. Feels fake. Address it. Keeps it alive. It's a trap. Walz built his brand on authenticity. Lindi pulled back the curtain and showed how manufactured it was. Not scandal. Not corruption. Just exposure. A slow unraveling, death by 1,000 sarcastic cuts, each one spreading online until the image finally collapses.